Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I never believed in ghosts or haunted houses. Not really. Sure, I loved a good scary story, but that was all they were to me. Stories. Until I moved into that house. It was a rental. A steal of a deal for a 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood. Too good, really. The landlord was almost eager to hand over the keys, brushing off my questions about why the last tenant had left so suddenly. People move on, he had said, a little too quickly. Maybe I should have asked more. Maybe I should have paid attention to the way his eyes darted toward the house like he expected it to answer for him. The first night, I noticed something strange. As I lay in bed, listening to the silence of my new home, the walls made a sound. A soft creaking, like an old house settling. But it wasn't random. It was rhythmic, like breathing. I told myself it was nothing. Houses make noises. Old wood shifts, pipes groan. But the next night, it wasn't just the walls. When I stepped into the hallway, I heard it, a slow inhale. When I moved into the kitchen, an exhale. The house was breathing. I shook it off. My imagination was running wild. That was all. I had just moved in, and new places always felt strange at first. But then, the mirrors started acting funny. The bathroom mirror was the first. I was brushing my teeth when I noticed it. A tiny delay. I lifted my arm, and for just a fraction of a second, my reflection hesitated before copying me. I blinked hard and leaned in, searching my own face for answers. The mirror was normal again. Just a trick of the light, I told myself. Maybe I was tired. I left the bathroom, but as I turned off the light, I heard something. A sigh. Low, deep, right behind me. I didn't look. I went straight to bed and left the lights on. A week in, things escalated. I came home late one night and found my front door ajar. My stomach twisted into a hard knot. I was certain, absolutely certain, I had locked it before leaving. I stood in the doorway, my breath coming too fast, staring into the darkened house. The air inside felt thick, heavy, like the place had been holding something in or holding something back. I stepped inside, and the air shifted. A slow, measured exhale. I forced myself to move, to check the rooms. Nothing was missing. No signs of forced entry. But something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. The house wasn't just breathing. It was watching me. That night, I barely slept. I kept the bedroom door locked and stayed under the covers like a child afraid of the dark. At some point, exhaustion won, and I drifted off. And then I dreamed. Or maybe I didn't. In the dream, if it was a dream, I was standing in the hallway, staring at the bathroom mirror. The house was breathing louder now, the walls expanding and contracting like lungs. The reflection in the mirror was not me. It looked like me, but its lips moved when mine didn't. It smiled when I only stared in horror. Then it leaned forward, pressing a hand against the glass from the inside. I woke up gasping, drenched in sweat, the room too hot, too thick with something I couldn't name. I jumped out of bed, fumbling for the light switch, but before I could reach it, I heard the whisper, "You're inside me now." The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, a soft, rasping breath against my ear, against my skin. Every hair on my body stood up. My stomach twisted. I ran. I don't remember grabbing my keys. Don't remember getting in my car. All I know is I was suddenly outside, behind the wheel, my breath coming in ragged gulps as I stared at the house. It was still, but I knew, in that moment, that it had let me go. I never went back. I left everything inside, clothes, furniture, even my laptop. Nothing was worth stepping into that house again. I found another apartment across town, somewhere new, somewhere safe. A month later, I saw the house listed online again. New pictures, same description. Spacious home. Must see. Previous tenant left suddenly. They always do. Story 2. When my fiancé and I moved into the house, we thought we'd found a hidden gem. It was one of those old two-story homes with a basement that smelled like sawdust and time. The kind of house with history soaked into its wooden bones. The kind that creaked and groaned like an old man stretching his limbs. I told myself it had character. It had been sitting on the market for months. A steal, really. The realtor mumbled something about the previous owner leaving in a hurry, but people come and go all the time. I didn't think twice about it. For the first few weeks, everything seemed fine. We painted the walls, unpacked boxes, made it ours. At night, the house settled in ways I wasn't used to. Long, stretching moans in the walls, soft thumps from somewhere deeper than the foundation. Just the sounds of an old place breathing, I told myself. Then we found the door. It was my fiancée who noticed it first. She was organizing shelves in the basement when she called for me, her voice a little too high, a little too tight. I came downstairs, and she was standing in front of a bookcase, her hands hovering over the edges like she was afraid to touch it. The bookcase wasn't flush with the wall anymore. It had been moved, just a few inches. We stared at each other. Then I grabbed the side of the shelf and pulled. Behind it was a door. It wasn't in the blueprints. The wall should have been solid brick, but here was a door frame, which splintered and warped with time. There was no handle, just a keyhole and a rusted latch that looked fused shut. That's when I heard it. A sound. Soft. Slow. A single, deliberate tap. Then another. Tap. 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 I leaned in, my ear inches from the wood. My own breath came shallow and quick. Then a voice. Let me out. I fell back so fast I hit the shelves, knocking over a stack of old books. My fiancée laughed, but it was forced, uneasy. Old houses make weird sounds, she said. We stacked the books back, pushed the shelf into place, and tried to forget about it. That night, I dreamed of the door. In my dream, I stood before it, fingers twitching at my sides. On the other side, something scratched, not like nails on wood, but inside it, like the sound was trapped in the grain itself. It wasn't frantic. It wasn't desperate. It was patient. I woke up drenched in sweat. The next morning, I went straight to the basement. My fiancée was still asleep upstairs. The bookcase had been moved again, this time all the way across the room, and the door, wide open. Beyond it, a hallway stretched too far. The basement wasn't that big, but the corridor was narrow and long, lined with damp, pulsing walls. The air smelled thick and stale, like old breath trapped in a sealed room. I felt the shift before I heard it. Something crawled out. I didn't see it. I only heard the sound of it. Limbs scraping the floor, nails dragging across wood. A wet, clicking noise like teeth grinding in a slack jaw. Then my fiancée screamed. I turned, bolted up the stairs, and slammed the basement door. I held it shut, even though nothing was pushing against it. Then the knob twisted in my hand. We packed our bags that day. Didn't even list the house. Just left. Let the bank deal with it. But before we drove away, I went down one last time. The bookcase was back in place. The door was gone, as if it had never been there. Story 3. It started with little things. The kind of things you brush off because the alternative is admitting something is wrong. I leave my car keys on the kitchen counter and find them in the bathroom. My wife, Ellen, swore she set her phone on the nightstand, only to find it on the dining room table. We joked about it first. Blamed stress, forgetfulness, maybe even a cat. But the cat was dead. Had been for 3 months. Then there were the noises. Houses settle, old wood shifts, pipes clunk. That's what I told myself. But this wasn't normal. These sounds were deliberate, slow creaks, heavy steps in the hall when we were both in bed. Sometimes it sounded like breathing, long and drawn out, just beyond the bedroom door. One night, I got up to use the bathroom and saw a shadow move across the hallway. I thought it was Ellen. I called her name, but she didn't answer. When I got back to bed, she was still asleep. It was easy to ignore these things until the house decided we weren't allowed to leave. The first time it was subtle. I went to open the front door one morning, just to step outside and get the mail. The knob wouldn't turn. Not locked, not stuck, just unmovable, like the door had fused with the frame. I tried the back door. Same thing. Ellen thought I was joking until she tried it herself. She pulled, yanked, even kicked it. Nothing. She looked at me, her face pale. We called our neighbor, Rick. He came over and turned the knob from the outside. It opened easily. We laughed it off. Old houses, right? That night, I dreamed of hands. Pale, slender fingers reaching up from beneath the floorboards, pressing against the walls, testing their strength. 2 nights later, we decided to go out for dinner. We stepped onto the porch, and the moment our feet left the threshold, every light inside the house flickered off. A blackout. I turned around. The house stood in the dark, silent and waiting. Ellen reached for my hand. Her fingers were ice cold. I took a step toward the door. The second my shoe touched the welcome mat, the lights flared back on. A test. We went inside. We didn't talk about what happened. The next morning, I woke up to Ellen gasping. She was sitting up in bed, staring at the wall. 3 words, scratched deep into the paint. Don't go. The letters were jagged, uneven, carved as if by something that had never held a tool before. That was the moment something inside me cracked. It was no longer funny. It was no longer a question of maybe we're imagining things. We packed our bags that day, but the house had other plans. The moment we tried to leave, the front door wouldn't open. Neither would the back. The windows wouldn't budge. Even the old vent in the laundry room, which I had removed the grate from a few weeks ago, was now covered, sealed shut by something that looked like smooth, white bone. Ellen started crying. I kicked the door, pounded on it. Nothing. And then we heard it. The voice. It came from the vents, from the walls, from everywhere. A whisper, thick and heavy, slipping through the air like oil. You live here now. Ellen screamed. I grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the kitchen. I don't know why. Maybe I thought the knives would help. Maybe I just wanted to be as far from that voice as possible. The lights flickered. The walls groaned. The air thickened, heavy as mud. Then nothing. The next thing I remember, we were outside, standing on the sidewalk, our suitcases at our feet, staring up at the house. The windows were dark. The front door was open, waiting. We didn't question it. We got in a car and drove. We never spoke about how we got out. I don't think either of us wanted to know. A month later, I checked the real estate listings. The house was back on the market. No mention of us. No mention of what happened. Just a simple description. Charming home. Must see. Previous owners moved suddenly. They always do.